As an expat, you really have to look at it day by day. You can't really say, I'm going to stay here for life. It's more of a, if it makes sense, then why not?
Yeah.
If it doesn't, then it doesn't.
Meet Hans, an expat who has been living in Singapore for over a year now. He previously worked in the Philippines after graduating from one of the country's top universities in 2019. He shares what he likes about living in Singapore, the differences in the work culture compared to his home country, as well as his advice for those looking to move overseas. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to like this video and comment down below if you find it helpful. Alright, let's get started.
Prior to coming here, I've worked in the Philippines for almost 4 years. All of this has been in the software industry, so same job, still a programmer, software engineer, whatever you prefer to call it.
What motivated you to move to Singapore?
I guess I'll be frank. Number one reason is money. Number two reason, I'd say this would tie into I guess, what I like about Singapore. I'd say it's safety and efficiency of public transport. Those things you just straight up can't get in the Philippines.
Could you tell me how you actually landed a job?
Okay. So, I was still working in Manila. I just looked through websites hiring, like the website of the company I'm working for. And that time, they had regional hiring. So I thought, why not apply? We don't lose anything. And yeah, luckily, after about, I think, 6 rounds of interview, I was lucky enough to land the job.
You've been here for 1 year, right?
More than a year.
More than a year now. So what has been your biggest culture shock coming
Culture
here?
shock, I mean, it's not that different compared to the Philippines. I guess something interesting to note would be the terminologies. For example, you go to a shop here, say a bag on sale, right? The word I'm expecting them to write on the wall would be something like promotion or some noun. Except they just write offer, which is both a noun and a verb, right? So what do you want me to do? Offer you an amount, like haggle for the bag, or things like that.
Yeah.
But they're not mutually exclusive to Singapore. Let's say in the Philippines, we do have some interesting terminology. For example, I'll speak in Tagalog. No? If you have the air conditioning on in a room, somebody will tell you, "Uy, patay mo yung aircon, lalabas." So it literally translates to, "Hey, turn off the aircon, it's gonna go out." Like, if you do think about it, how does an aircon go out? Does it walk out? Does it have legs? Just few terms like that, I guess.
What do you like the most about living in Singapore?
I guess those would be the same two things from earlier. I'd say public transport. In terms of connectivity, it's very extensive. I guess owing to Singapore being a relatively small country as well in terms of land size. And then the safety, you can walk around like 12 in the midnight. Chances are you're not getting mugged. In any other part of the world, it would be dangerous to do so.
Yes. You work as a
Programmer, yeah, I do.
How different is that job compared to back in the Philippines?
I guess going to technicalities is a different tech stack. So let's say you're speaking in Hokkien, then you go somewhere else, you have to speak in Mandarin. I mean, they're both Chinese, right?
Yeah.
But it's a different thing altogether. So something like that, I'd say.
How about in the workplace? Ano yung difference?
In the workplace, actually, I was lucky enough to have, I guess, at least half of the team I'm working with be Filipinos as well. Instead of us adjusting to the culture, it's us infecting everyone else with the culture. So there wasn't that much of an adjustment. I'd say one very, very big thing, it's neither good nor bad, no? It's just something different. I guess people come here to work, and when they say work, they mean work. On break time, they don't really talk about family. They don't really talk about personal things. Another culture shock I've gotten was that in the Philippines, before you go home, you normally talk to your teammate. Oh guys, mauna na ako. I'll go ahead. Right?
Yeah.
You normally let them know. Here, you can just see a boss just stand up, walk out.
Really?
So I was asking my colleague one time, where'd he go? Did he go washroom? I mean, he hasn't come back. No, he already went home. It's, I don't know, professional in a sense. You're not that connected with them on an interpersonal level.
Yeah. It's basically your colleagues are only your colleagues.
Yeah, your colleagues are your colleagues. That's it.
But in the Philippines, your colleagues can be your friends.
Absolutely. Not just friends. Some of them are technically as close as family because you spend
Yeah,
8 hours a day with them, right?
Right.
On weekends, you sometimes go out together. Company outings. Yeah. I guess that's the biggest difference.
And what has been the biggest challenge that you adjusting as a Filipino expat?
I guess not just a Filipino expat, but as an expat in general, no?
Yeah.
I won't say na everything sunshine and rainbows
Mhm.
here. Of course, I'd understand if I were the boss also. Of course, I'd prioritize the actual locals here, right? The people who live here, the people who are actually citizens here, PRs here,
Mm.
over expats. So when it comes to push and shove and everything's equal, there is a high chance that, of course, they'd be more partial towards the people here.
Yeah.
I'd say that's one thing. But really, the most important thing is to build up your personal skill set. You never know where life will take you.
Right.
Yeah, you can only bank on yourself for the most part.
You said locals are being prioritized the jobs, no?
That's my impression, yes. Of course, it depends on the boss, right? You
Oo.
can't 100% tell.
Yeah.
Let's say there's an argument between two camps. One camp are the expats, one
Yeah.
camp are the people here.
Yeah, yeah.
Of course, if the boss didn't know anything better, like surface level, all things equal, he'd pick the locals.
Mm.
Let's say you go to the Philippines, you see expats, and they're held in a very, very high regard, right? Compared to someone locally.
Yeah.
Right here, it's technically the opposite because Singapore is the first world country. So, of course, if I were the boss, I'd hold the locals in higher regard compared to expats coming in. I guess that's partially where it comes from. If you're a boss, you share the same culture with the locals, of course, you'll be more partial towards them.
While you're here in Singapore, see, obviously you spend most of your time here.
Yeah,
you only
you-
go back to the Philippines
Like maybe
every now and then.
every quarter, yeah.
Yeah. How do you stay connected to that culture?
Well, I do call home every night. Not like I'm totally separated from the culture. No? This would probably have been a bigger problem if we still rely on snail mail.
Yeah.
People would feel sad, disconnected. Of course, that's
Mm.
natural. But now with social media,
Yeah.
email, cell phone, it's about the same. Say you're working in Ortigas, in the Philippines, and then you live in the south. The commute home takes 3-4 hours.
Yes.
Which is the same as the flight here to the Philippines. It's
Oh.
exactly the same. So
Like
does it even
one-way
matter?
commute?
Yeah, I mean, depends. If you drive, you go through EDSA,
Oh.
yeah, you go through the work rush hours. I mean,
Mm.
you're screwed. Right? So it's not that much of a difference, really.
What do you rely on for support?
I guess I was lucky in that, as I told you earlier, half of my team are also Filipinos. I don't really feel that away from home. In Singapore, we do know lots of expats, and of course, a big chunk of them are also Filipinos.
Yeah. That was also my biggest surprise when I came here. Ang dami palang Pinoy dito.
Marami talaga. Yeah.
Like when you go to Lucky Plaza, you
Right.
see a lot of
Mm.
domestic helpers there.
Let's not go into what job people are working, but
Yeah.
in general, that there are a lot. Right?
Now that you've been here for more than a year now,
Mm.
do you see yourself staying in Singapore long term?
Well, actually, I'll be honest for the record, no? Because as an expat, without a PR
Oh.
and without citizenship, you really have to look at it day by day. You can't really say, I'm going to stay here for life. You won't know. Yeah, it's more of a, if it makes sense, then why not?
Yeah.
If it doesn't, then it doesn't.
Realistically, how long do you see yourself here?
I can't really say. I'm seeing myself staying here. It's a training ground. You're getting experience,
Yeah.
right? You're building up your resume, everything. I guess that's the short term. For the long term, I don't really have any projection yet.
And how do you think has this experience of you living away from your family changed you as a person?
Of course, you're more independent, not in the physical sense. You mean eating together with someone,
Yeah.
so on and so forth. Let's say you're working in the Philippines. Something happens, you can easily find another job in the Philippines because you are a citizen there. There's no danger. Here, you're already on a thread by being an expat worker without any other pass.
Yeah.
There's more of a weight now when it comes to relying on yourself, upskilling yourself, getting along with everyone in the workplace. Some people have told me, again in Tagalog,
Mm.
it's not that the technical hurdle is too high. It's more of the pakikisama. It's getting along with everyone, regardless of race, of anything, right? Living away from home, you really have no one else to count on other than the people you meet here.
And yourself.
And yourself, of course. Yeah.
To cap off this interview, what is one piece of advice that you give to someone who is considering to move to Singapore or just outside the Philippines?
Outside the Philippines, yeah, regardless of Singapore or any other country, Number one, have to get lucky, of course. Number two, you'd have to do a lot of research before going somewhere. Let's say people move to the Philippines. Of course, in the videos online, most of things you'd see on YouTube,
Yeah.
people would go, "Oh, BGC is so beautiful. Everything's efficient, right?" But as Filipinos, of course, most of us would have seen both the good and the bad,
Yeah.
right? And Singapore and any other country would not be exceptions. So the important part would be really to do research. If you could afford it, then maybe come here, not just go to the touristy places like, of course, Changi. But I really prefer if you've seen the whole country for yourself, go to the slums, go to everywhere, like as a whole, then decide, is this the place you want to go?
And you yourself, have you been to those slums that you're referring to?
Yeah, yeah.
Like
So
which ones?
I guess for my experience, it's basically if you're comfortable with Binondo and Green Hills, it's basically the same here. There are less developed areas in Singapore, of course,
For sure.
whether it's in the west, it's in the east. Just look for, I guess, the ones without the major train connections. It's one of the signs, I would say.
Thank you so much, Hans, for the interview.
Sure,
I
thanks too.
appreciate the insight.
Yeah.
If you found this helpful, hit the subscribe and share it to a friend who's thinking of moving to Singapore or just abroad in general. Anyway, I'll see you in the next video.